What happened to Luke Skywalker's lightsaber in Star Wars Legends after his battle with Darth Vader on Cloud City? This is a question that caught the attention of the public after the release of The Force Awakens, where we also wondered how Luke's lightsaber survived the encounter and the fall that it took in Bespin after he got his hand cut off at the hands of Darth Vader. Well, we did eventually get an answer. The answer was actually very similar to the answer we had in Star Wars Legends, except that one was somehow even weirder and stranger and yet so awesome. But before we get into that, speaking of lightsabers, today's sponsor is Kyberlight Sabers, my absolute favorite saber company. They sell an absolute awesome variety of saber accessories to all customize your singular lightsaber hilt. You can just buy a singular saber and customize it to your heart's content to make it the ultimate personalized saber. Plus, they have a lifetime warranty on their blades and just the best customer service. You can use my promo code in the description, LoreStar5, to get 5% off your order from Kyberlight Sabers. It's also a really great way of letting them know that you want me to continue being sponsored by them. I've been trying to get Kyberlight to be the official saber for LoreStar for the better part of the past year, so I'm really excited to finally have them on board. Now, after Luke's duel with Darth Vader, his hand was, as we all remember, swiftly cut off with his lightsaber still gripped inside of it. And that is actually the important part here. Less than the saber, more the hand. The saber was retrieved by an Ugnaught named Grogan in the lower levels of Bespin. However, before Darth Vader left the city, he went down to the lower levels and actually took the saber and the hand from this Grogan Ugnaught character. Of course, Vader was immediately reminded of all the memories he had had with that saber and decided to take it back to Emperor Palpatine in order to give it to him as a trophy. Of course, things didn't work out quite so well as he had hoped. You see, he had also had the idea of using Luke's hand and the DNA inside it to create a clone of Luke Skywalker and force Luke to face that clone, or even use that clone to overthrow Palpatine. Of course, Palpatine saw through this plot and summoned Vader back to the Imperial Palace and took the hand and the saber from him and sent it away to his Mount Tantiss fortress on Wayland. After that, Vader was punished, and as a side note, this story was written before the prequels, so ignore the continuity error here, but that was actually when the Emperor cut off Vader's right hand as punishment for letting Luke survive and for contemplating using Luke's DNA to rise up against the Emperor with a clone of his son. The hand and saber both remained on Wayland for several years before it was discovered by the crazed Jedi clone Jorus C'Baoth.
You fought in the Clone Wars?
In the old continuity, the Clone Wars was not what we understood it to be in the prequels. See, the Clone Wars was actually an uprising of manual labor clones as well as a group of people who cloned various warriors and people against their will, creating an army to rise up against the Republic. See, the clones in the old Clone Wars were actually against the Republic, not fighting on behalf of the Republic. And on top of that, these were not all cloned from the same person, but rather a variety of different clones, all from various warriors, heroes, and etc. One of those was a Jedi who was cloned by the name of Jorus C'Baoth, resulting in the clone Jorus C'Baoth. Note the use of the W there. That's going to be important later on. Jorus C'Baoth was sought out by Grand Admiral Thrawn and used for his battle meditation in order to coordinate very specific and pertinent attacks that Thrawn needed the entire military to be completely coordinated on. Unlike Palpatine, he did not want to rely on battle meditation, but instead wanted to use it sparingly only when it was absolutely necessary, so that in the case that Jorus C'Baoth was detained or unavailable, the Empire wouldn't fall apart as it did in Endor after the Emperor died. In these novels, it was explained that it was because they were reliant on Palpatine's battle meditation that the Empire failed when he was killed on the Death Star. Now, Jorus C'Baoth went insane, a very common side effect of clones who were aged too quickly. And he would eventually rise up and try to overthrow Thrawn. And one of the ways that he tried to do this was by taking over the storehouse in the Mount Tantiss facility on Wayland. It was revealed in the third book that that facility was actually the housing of several cloning chambers owned by Emperor Palpatine himself. And among the relics in there was, of course, Luke's hand and Luke's old lightsaber, the lightsaber built by Anakin Skywalker. Jorus C'Baoth commissioned a very specific clone, a clone built from the DNA from Luke's old hand, and that would be known as Luke Skywalker. Yes, again, note the double U there. It seems to be a very common way of distinguishing a clone from the original hosts. We have Jorus C'Baoth from Jorus C'Baoth, and then we have Luke from Luke. And this is the weird thing that happened. Yes, Luke's hand, much like it was in canon, was retrieved by an Ugnaught scavenger and given to Vader, actually. That's the thing that things start to get a little bit different. And then this hand was kept by Emperor Palpatine in his storehouse, where it would eventually be found by Jorus C'Baoth and used to clone Luke. And Luke has to fight against a clone of himself, one holding his green lightsaber and the other one holding the old blue Graflex. It's like one of the weirdest 90s Star Wars thing to ever happen. It's hilarious, but it is really awesome. And on top of that, Mara Jade is struggling throughout the entire trilogy that she has these visions in her head that Palpatine is continuing to speak to her with his final order: you must kill Luke Skywalker. And despite the fact that she is starting to actually like Luke Skywalker, she can't fight these urges that she has to kill Luke Skywalker. And so throughout this whole thing, she's fighting against those urges. This is, as the last book is titled, The Last Command of Palpatine. And she eventually satiates the voice of Palpatine by killing the clone of Luke Skywalker. Luke does not kill the clone for some weird light side reason. He doesn't want to kill living beings. He keeps trying to reason with the clone, but the clone isn't reasonable. And so Mara Jade just straight up kills Luke Skywalker, silences the voice of Palpatine, and saves everyone, I guess. It is a really cool story and just goes to show the weirdness of Star Wars Legends, but at the same time, some of the cool things that they were willing to dive into in this expanded universe. And it does go to show why so many fans miss the expanded universe. It is because of these weird stories and these crazy adventures that you just can't get in the main films. Ultimately, I am more excited to see Thrawn in the upcoming Ahsoka series, and I am hoping that he will be the main overarching villain of this Favreauverse, as we're calling it, or Filoniverse, or whatever we want to call it, but this interconnected storytelling that's going to take place over Disney+. I'm hoping that Thrawn is going to be the main villain for that, because Thrawn is the character that I believe has the most potential to be the greatest threat we've seen. He was the greatest threat in Star Wars Legends in the post-Endor era, although there is a really good case to be made for the Yuuzhan Vong, but honestly, when you're talking about characters that are well-written, well-developed, and truly win by means that aren't just overwhelming force, but really they have a knowledge and a wisdom that is able to overpower the heroes, that's what makes Thrawn so cool, is because of his tactical genius. So I'm really excited for that, but I want to know what you guys think. What do you think about this weird, strange thing that happened to Luke's hand and lightsaber in Star Wars Legends? I want to know what you, my friends, have to say about our favorite galaxy far, far away. Thank you all so much for watching, and don't forget to click the link in the description to get a Kyberlight saber with 5% off. And as always, may the lore be with you, now and forever.